A January movie written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Talk about inspiring confidence. Glass is the newest movie written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan, and is the third movie in M. Night Shyamalan's superhero trilogy, if you will, also consisting of Unbreakable and Split. Now, before I get into what I thought of Glass, let me break down for you guys what I think of M. Night Shyamalan. I didn't really grow up with any of M. Night Shyamalan's older movies, the ones that he's really known for, the ones where people thought he was going to be the next Spielberg. The first movie I had ever seen of his was the movie Signs. It's one of my dad's all-time favorite movies. I remember watching that with him when I was around 12 or 13. I remember liking it. I didn't remember loving it. Granted, I'm 25 now, and that was the last time I saw that movie, so I don't remember a whole lot of it. And, you know, maybe if I watch it nowadays, my opinion would change. Maybe I'd like it more. Maybe I would like it less. But as of right now, all I know is I liked that movie. Then M. Night Shyamalan made the movie The Last Airbender, based off of the Nickelodeon TV show Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I think is a phenomenal show. And The Last Airbender is the biggest fucking piece of shit, awful, terrible, disgrace, shithole of a movie that has ever been made. Don't even at me on that. That movie is a fucking cancer. It's a disgrace. That's what a cinematic abortion is. In fact, literally, I hated that movie so much that I literally said, I am never, ever, ever watching an M. Night Shyamalan movie ever again. That goes with any movie that he releases in the future. That goes with any movie he's released in the past. Just, that is irredeemable. Now, I know he made the movie After Earth, which I also heard was shit. He also made a movie The Visit, which I heard was decent, but again, I swore off Shyamalan movies. Not even Split was enough to get me back into the theaters, but after I heard that everyone was feeling that Glass was one of the more anticipated movies of 2019, I felt, you know what, I think I'm gonna have to lift my Shyamalan ban. But I did know Glass was a movie that was tied into the movies Unbreakable and Split, and because I didn't see either of those movies beforehand, I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna fully understand Glass, if I'm gonna truly be able to review Glass objectively, I need to see those movies. So just to give you guys my very, very brief thoughts on what I thought of Unbreakable and Split, here they are. I actually thought they were both really good, really original, and extremely unique takes on the superhero movie genre. When you first watch these movies, you don't really think they're superhero movies, but then a moment just happens somewhere in the movie that makes you click, holy shit, I'm watching a superhero movie right now. It's weird, but it's kind of sick. So now those two movies are finally being tied in with the movie Glass, so now let me give you my thoughts there. So Glass does indeed take place around 19 years after the events of Unbreakable, a couple years after the events of Split. So you know, the amount of time it has been in real life, it's been the same amount of time in the movie. I like when it does that. So now we have David Dunn, the man who is known as being unbreakable, going on a hunt for Kevin Wendell Crumb, who has now become known as the Horde, a guy with a bunch of different personalities, with one of those personalities being a beast with superhuman capabilities. And Kevin is doing what his personalities, you know, had him doing in the last movie. He's collecting a bunch of girls, holding them hostage, and eventually killing them as the Beast. But David Dunn and his son Joseph have caught wind of that. They go to hunt him down. David Dunn finds these 4 cheerleaders chained up in this abandoned warehouse. He frees them. He then confronts the Beast. They have this big fight that's actually really awesome. It's exciting. It really felt like a real-life superhero fight, and that's what I really enjoyed with it. Look at these 2 guys with strangely realistic powers. Well, not really realistic powers, but powers that you could buy that they have, and, you know, or buy how they got them, I should say. And that's what I think makes this movie unique. It ties into what the other movies did. So, you know, they wind up in the streets, they both end up getting arrested, and they're sent into a mental institution. The same mental institution that Elijah Price, aka Mr. Glass, has been residing in. And now all 3 of them are being met with Dr. Ellie Staple, who is the head psychiatrist of this mental institution, and her specialty is working with people who believe they are superheroes. And her goal here is just to meet with all 3 of them, explain to them that they are normal, try to convince them that they are normal, because she tells them, if I cannot truly convince you guys that you're normal, you're gonna be stuck here forever. They put David Dunn in a cell that can flood with water because water is his weakness. They put Kevin in a cell with a bunch of flashing lights that whenever a light comes on, his personality will immediately change. So that way, if he ever turns into the Beast, they can just flash a different light and he's a different personality and everybody's okay. That's something else I'll give the movie credit for. I like seeing the way they contained these guys, contained these heroes. And it's even still, this segment in the mental institution, when it first happens, it's honestly extremely interesting because you see the way that Dr. Stable breaks it down with each of the heroes, you know, why they may have the abilities that they have or why they think they have the abilities that they have. And it's not absurd to consider her reasoning. She talks to David Dunn. Yeah, you've been able to survive these horrible accidents, but so have a lot of magicians out there who have pulled off these elaborate stunts that seem very dangerous, and they come out of it unscratched. And then talking to Kevin, well, Kevin's personality, Dennis, she explains to him, it's like, oh, you have the ability to climb walls, so do rock climbers. And yeah, you took a shotgun blast to the chest, but that was a very old shotgun that was probably watered down. Odds are it wasn't that effective. And what I do love seeing right here in this moment is you see David Dunn and Kevin Wendell Crumb, they're hearing out her points, they're hearing what she's talking about, and they're beginning to think, maybe she's right, maybe it's true, maybe we're not special, maybe we're just normal people. And this is what I'll say, for a while in the mental institution, when they explored on stuff like this, it was very interesting. We're definitely in the mental institution for a while. This is pretty much the entire second half of the movie. I would even say longer than that. It's pretty much like you got a brief first part, a brief ending part, which I'll eventually get to, and then the rest of it is in the mental institution. And seeing the doctors trying to contain the heroes, seeing Dr. Staple try to work with the heroes, that's all really interesting. But I gotta say, for myself, there is a point when we're in the mental institution where the movie really does slow down. We obviously have Mr. Glass in the institution with these two guys for a while, but for the most time, he seems pretty catatonic. He doesn't talk, he doesn't say anything, he doesn't do anything. The man is just there, and you're wondering, alright, what's your purpose? The movie's called Glass, so why aren't you doing more? I gotta talk about some other members of the supporting cast here. Joseph, David Dunn's son, Elijah Price's mother, and Casey, the girl who survived the encounter with Kevin from Split, the one who's played by Anya Taylor-Joy. They're all in this movie. They all make appearances at several moments in the mental institute to try to help their loved ones. Or in Casey's case, the guy who tried to kill her. I'm gonna say this right now. I didn't feel any of them were really relevant to this movie. I didn't really see a point of any of them being here. In the case with Mrs. Price, we saw what she was going through with her son in Unbreakable. You know, her son suffers from brittle bone disease, which means a simple little touch could break his bones. But he was so fascinated by the world of superheroes, he truly believed that heroes did exist, and you know, his mother was supportive of him. But in this movie, I didn't really feel she did a whole lot that really mattered. But for me, it's more so in the case with Casey, and especially Joseph. Starting off with Casey, we all know that she was arguably the main character in Split, aside from James McAvoy, obviously. And what made her character unique in Split was the unique relationship that she developed with Kevin's multiple personalities, and that ultimately she survived her encounter with the Beast because the Beast saw her as someone who was impure. He saw her as someone who suffered, who knew what the world was, I guess, truly like, so he spared her. It's around a certain point in the movie where she finally meets with Kevin, you know, she talks to him, you know, they're trying to see if she can maybe work with him, try to contain, you know, his personalities and bring the real Kevin out. And, you know, similarly to in Split, she is able to briefly bring Kevin out, but again, it's only briefly because, you know, she'll talk to him for a minute, but then Hedwig, his 9-year-old personality, that'll show up. And then it's basically just like, alright, you didn't work, you can go home now. And then David Dunn's son, Joseph, probably the least important character in this whole movie. In Unbreakable, Joseph was the one who really believed Elijah Price's theory that David Dunn was a superhero. You know, his dad being basically impenetrable to anything, his dad being able to lift really strong weights, his dad being able to see other people's crimes when he touches them. His son totally believed it, he totally got behind his dad about it, because what I think I appreciated is every kid, every son especially, at one point or another when they're little, they see their dad as a superhero. I mean, that was certainly the case with me and my dad when I was really young, and I liked seeing it in Unbreakable because in Joseph's case, his dad really was a superhero. Here though, Joseph is now an adult, and yes, he is aware of his dad's abilities, his dad's powers, and, you know, he's kind of acting as his guy in the chair for a while, you know, communicating with him, you know, on the phone, being like, okay, this is where you need to go, this is what you need to do, you gotta go here, track this guy down. But ultimately, I just didn't really feel that was necessary. I mean, you saw what David Dunn was capable of doing on his own in Unbreakable. He didn't really need his son's help for it. it's like, now he's like, alright, I want my son to feel like he's a part of this. I want to have him on this journey with me. So it's like, alright, you can contribute, even though you're unnecessary. I feel like if all three of those supporting characters were taken out of the movie, I don't think the movie would be too different. But anyways, now we get to the point in the movie where Mr. Glass finally comes out of his fake catatonicness. That's not a word, but I'm going to roll with it. And he finally meets with the Beast. And on this night, Elijah Price kills one of the doctors that was supposed to perform surgery on him. He goes to meet with Kevin, awakens the Beast in him, and he tells him, hey, this is what you're going to do. We're going to show the world that we really exist, that superheroes are real and among them. Here's how you're going to do that. You're going to lure David Dunn into a city where this tower is being built. It's going to be this grand opening. The whole city's going to be there, and you're going to fight him there. And the whole world's going to see just how powerful you truly are. And they're going to see that we are real. And then with that, Elijah Price calls in to David Dunn's cell, and he says, David, this is Mr. Glass. Let me tell you what's going to happen. I'm about to unleash the Beast onto the city where that tower is. You have exactly this amount of time to break free from your cell, or I'm going to destroy that tower, and again, the world's going to see who we are. Go out there, fight the Beast, or I destroy that tower, and a bunch of people are going to die, just like I've been doing since the beginning. Make your pick. And David Dunn, of course, eventually able to break his way out of the cell. And he's like, alright, I'm gonna go take on the Beast. I gotta stop Mr. Glass from killing all these people. Now at this point, all three guys are just outside of the mental institution, but Dr. Stable has basically ordered in the SWAT team to take on these guys. The Beast and David Dunn start throwing down again. I'm thinking, alright, eventually it's gonna make its way to the city, and we're gonna have that big, final, climatic showdown that we were expecting. However, it is right around this point, the three useless supporting characters, they show up. And it's right here. Joseph tells the Beast, hey, your father was on the train that Mr. Glass had crashed that basically proved that David Dunn was a superhero, but it caused your dad to die, which turned your mother psycho, made her very abusive towards you, which led to your multiple personalities. So essentially, it's all Mr. Glass's fault. And the Beast realizes, oh shit, it is. Well, yeah, fuck you. I'm gonna beat your ass now. And so, you know, he attacks Mr. Glass, badly injures him. Now he's laying on the floor. He's basically dying now. And from there, the Beast throws David Dunn into this water tank where, you know, he's drowning, he's choking, because, you know, water is his weakness. But then comes the climax of this conflict that I really, really did not like. David Dunn is able to break free from the water tank, but he's very weakened now. And at this point, Casey goes back over to the Beast. She tries to talk to him. She's able to bring Kevin back out. But obviously, just as she brings Kevin out, he's no longer superhuman, he's no longer the Beast, so a member of the SWAT team just shoots him, and it kills him right there. And then you have David Dunn, who just gets stepped on by a member of the SWAT team, forces his head into a flooded puddle, into a little mud puddle, and David Dunn just drowns there, and now he's dead. Oh yeah, and then Mr. Glass eventually dies from the injuries he suffered from the Beast. It's like, what? Really? That's the end of it all. That's the climax? Really? I was really looking forward to maybe a big final climatic fight between the Horde and David Dunn in front of all these people, and David Dunn also has to stop Mr. Glass from destroying the building. I know everyone will be like, well, then it wouldn't feel like a real-life superhero movie. It can still totally feel like something like that. You know, David Dunn fights, you know, the Horde, then he has to go and kill Mr. Glass. You know, I can still buy that. I don't think that's totally unreasonable. But this is ridiculous. I mean, Casey talks to the Beast, is able to bring out Kevin, boom, shot, he's dead. And then David Dunn literally goes out like a fucking pussy. This is a guy who is known as being unbreakable. The guy who survived a fucking train crash, and he's killed by a mud puddle. Seriously? Everyone will be like, well, the water weakened him. He was in water. Water just weakens him. But that just goes against everything that Unbreakable said. Unbreakable pointed out, oh, he chokes on water. You know, he drowns from water. The fact that even being touched by water is what weakens him? That doesn't make sense. Does that mean he's not able to drink water? Is he even able to take a shower or bathe or anything like that? It just raises a lot of questions that really makes you wonder exactly how powerful David Dunn is if even a little splash of water just severely weakens him. But anyways, it's right before David Dunn dies. He discovers that Dr. Stable is actually a member of this organization that tries to rid the world of people who are indeed superheroes. She reveals to him right before he drowns in the stupid mud puddle, she reveals, oh, my intention was to try and just convince you that you were normal and then release you back into the world. but the beast prevented that from happening, so we had to kill you. We can't have gods living among humans. And with that, the security footage of the three men fighting, revealing their power. She has that deleted. She's thinking, alright, everything's solved. No one knows anything. But unfortunately for them, they discovered that Elijah Price had actually planned all this to happen. He never intended to go to the city. This was all a suicide mission. So he could hijack the cameras in the mental institution, stream the footage that had happened over to his mother and to the other two, so they could release it into the public, which it then would be. So now there's absolutely nothing anybody can do, and now Dr. Staples like, well, fuck, we failed. The supervillain got the best of us. And then the movie ends with the footage of the three men, the three superheroes, if you will, all at war with each other, their powers being seen to the world. Yeah, now everyone knows that superheroes are real, which is maybe going to think other people who have these disabilities actually have powers. So all in all, for me, Glass was an average movie. Bruce Willis, James McAvoy, Samuel L. Jackson, they all do a really good job once again in the movie. It's very nice to see them all in a movie together. It's nice to see them all reprising these roles. The first act of this movie was awesome, seeing the hunt for the beast by David Dunn, seeing them fight each other, and even seeing them wind up in the mental institution. The beginning of that was really cool, really interesting. But yeah, like I said, the supporting characters in this movie, they provided really nothing for it. I really see any point of them being here. For me, the movie just suffers from a downward spiral. But it starts off great, then the middle part, as we stay in the mental institution for too long, starts to get boring, it starts to make you want other things. It starts to make you want that really big, epic, climatic ending that we thought we were gonna get. And then we get an ending that's incredibly underwhelming. For me, was disappointing. And just left me sitting there wanting a lot more. Wanting more of what I thought I was going to get. I've always said this before, and the 2014 Godzilla movie, I think, is a great example of this. If a movie starts off slow, but eventually picks up the pace as it goes along, and then we get a really epic, awesome ending, then yeah, it's going to be a good movie. I will tell people it's a good movie. But if the movie does the exact opposite and starts off great and then progressively just gets worse as the movie goes along, I can't say that. That's what I think Glass suffers from, and that's a problem with me. That for me is the biggest issue that Glass suffers from, and that's why for me, this movie just wasn't what I thought it could be, which I thought it could have been something really cool, but it just wasn't. But you know what? That's M. Night Shyamalan for you. He can't come in the clutch. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you all next time.